Welcome to another unit in this Access course. This time I'm going to talk about how we can add additional new fields of different types to our data tables. So how can we actually prepare the data table for what we want to enter there? And for this, we're going to have to first select our data table. We do not necessarily have to open this. This is just already open. I can leave it open. If I have selected it, either up here I'm going to switch to design view, or if I'm on the table I can click the right mouse button and switch here to the design view. If I go to design view, I see in the first column it reads field name. That's where I can add additional new fields, like for example first name, surname, and so forth. And he directly gives me a proposal what type of data it could be. So if we take a look at this, the first one, the ID, is already set as auto number. Auto numbers, that's actually listed relatively far downwards in this list. An auto number is just a running number. So it starts at 1, then goes for the next entry 2, 3, 4, 5. And it usually has the big advantage, it can act as a key variable or as a general key in the database. That's also what this small symbol on the left indicates. Each data table needs to have a unique key. What does unique key mean? Means there needs to be one field, one variable, where each entry is unique. So each entry, each number in the ID can only be given to exactly one entry, one observation. So there could be people with with the same first and surname. So for example, we could have the same Jens Perret twice, 3 times in the database. But by having different IDs, we know those are different people. So we always need to have at least one key variable, one key in our dataset. It's usually automatically set as ID if I generate a new table, but I can do whatever I like. Also having the ID with an auto number is usually the easiest way to go with. Well, let's go back to our new fields. We have first name, surname. That's text and input, which I expect here. So first name wouldn't be like 0.83. So that's why I can select short text here. And if I take a look at the list, short text also is the first possibility. Short text is usually used for entries like names, maybe address data, but not for very long entries. So if you're doing a research database, and you want to put maybe the whole abstract there, this shouldn't be a short text, this should be a long text. So that's longer passages, usually more sentences. So a lot more input than with the short text. Short text is usually a small field. Well, next thing could be numbers. For example, if I would include here the age of a person. You see, directly again select short text. Well, short text would work in this case as well. If I enter like 41, this could still be a short text. However, the 41 would be text. It would not be a number, so it cannot be used in any analyses related to numbers. So number-based filters, for example. If I go with smaller or larger than, if I want to filter people, for example, by younger than 40 years, older than 40 years, this will not work with text. For this, I would need a number. So I should always try to remember what is the data type I expect here. And we'll also show in a moment why this is also important to have something like this. Well, let's go back here again. We then have date and time. We have currencies. Well, date and time might make sense. Currencies has the big advantage. It's a number, but you get usually the currency sign there as well. Else, it's more or less the same as number. Auto number we already talked about. We can have simple yes-no answers. We can have more complex database objects, links, or a lot of different other stuff. So, for example, with attachments, you could put whole files there. But that's just the basic version. If we're finished, and if I were to simply go back to the data sheet, we see here, he's usually checking, did I save this? So he didn't make any changes to the table yet. First have to change this, and then he uses the way as I prepared. With the ID, whenever I enter something new, here he sees, okay, first entry, so he puts an auto ID number 1 here. If I were to enter the next one, let's say Hans, he directly makes the 2. He does not enter anything for the normal text parts. So here I would have to add something on my own. Since age is a number, he starts with 0 as the initial value, the default value for age. And I would have to add something here on my own. So if I enter something like 32, it works, 41 works. I could even add something like 100 or minus 20. All of this works because all of those are numbers. But let's say I enter 20. Here we can see this will be a problem because he expects a number. So if I enter something which is not a number, I will get an error in this context. I could go with enter new value, could keep it empty. This would also be possible, but I can not enter anything which is not considered a number. So that's an automatic way to assure that only those informations are entered the way they're supposed to. Well, it works with numbers. The other way around might be a bit more problematic, because what I actually can do, since 28 could also be a text, I could enter number data, numeric data, into text fields, into short text, long text, whatever, but I cannot enter text strings into a number field or into, for example, a currency or a date field. So that's something to always keep in mind when you build your own database, when you build your own tables. Well, of course, you can always switch back to the design view. However, if you're already working here and you just need a new column, you could also simply click on this click to add part. He shows you directly, okay, which types do you want to have, even with nice icons here. I could more or less paste information there or calculate something based on the information from the fields before. This would work in the design view as well, but this is much easier to go with if I want to have something like this. For example, if I use the input of age or some other variables to calculate, well, age doesn't make sense, but let's say this is maybe your bill or something, and you have the amount of goods you buy and the price per product, you could add a column with total price per position. So this will simply multiply number of products you bought and price per product. So that's a simple way to use also the calculated field version with numbers. That's like one version. Or you can add two text parts together, can make a decision if something is fulfilled or not. So that's actually a nice addition to the standard versions of fields we have here. But even those, if you don't care about the design view, you can simply construct your own data table with always clicking here, selecting which type of input you need. And well, that's then everything there is, which I wanted to talk about in this unit. Hope you enjoyed it. I say goodbye and see you next time.